Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plan Commission ARB meeting for January 3rd, 2023. Anyone attending virtually, if you want to speak, raise your hand and you'll be let in. In the council chambers, if you have electronic gadgets, if you would put it on silent, we would appreciate it. With that, Ryan will start.
Steve Lichtenfeld.
Here.
Carolyn Gatis.
Here.
Bridget McAndrew.
Here.
Bob Denlow.
Here.
Helen DeFate.
Here.
Kami Waldman.
Here.
David Gibson.
Here. We have minutes from the previous meeting on December 19th of 2022. Are there any changes or recommendations? No. Well, then do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing for Chapter 405 of the Land Use Code and Chapter 500 of the Property Maintenance Code. And we will open the public hearing. Ryan?
So this request is to consider amending sections of Chapter 405, the Land Use Code, and Chapter 500.040 of the Property Maintenance Code to standardize the language used pertaining to the use of accessory dwelling units as recommended by the Community Equity Commission. So an ADU is a type of accessory structure, either attached or detached, which provides complete independent living facilities, including provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation, and is located on the same site as the principal residence. So the code currently uses a variety of terms like second unit, carriage house, granny flat for this definition applied to ADUs. The proposed revisions seek to standardize this language through the industry standard term accessory dwelling unit. The revision is not going to propose any sort of definitional changes from what is used now or use changes. All it's going to do is standardize that vocabulary that varies across the code. A draft of the revisions and a list of code sections has been provided with the staff report, and staff is recommending approval of the proposed zoning text amendment to various sections of Chapter 405 of the Land Use Code, Chapter 500.040 of the Property Maintenance Code to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, thank you. It looked great to me. I had one question, and that is under Article 12, R1 large lot single family, and it's also under R2 single family. The C that is there on the far right, that's for conditional use, isn't it? Okay. Is it not spelled out anywhere?
Well, in that actual article, that section of the code, it tells you what the C and the P mean.
Oh, I guess.
So we only include, right? So if you go and you actually look at the full permitted uses list outlined in the code, it tells you that C is conditional use permit and a P would be a permitted use.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
That easy? Any comments from the virtual audience? No hands up. Any comments here in the chambers? No. Well, we do have a recommendation to approve. And do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And well, now the public hearing is closed. So we'll move on to new business. And the first item is 6307 Wydown. And is the applicant here? Thank you. Then we'll go ahead.
So this application pertains to the consolidation of two lots in use by Forsyth School. The subject properties are located on the north side of Whiteown Boulevard with frontage on both Whiteown and Forsyth. The properties currently reside on the St. Louis City and City of Clayton border. The property within the City of Clayton, 6307 Whiteown, is a 30-foot wide lot that is zoned R1, large lot, single family. The existing lot boundary bifurcates an existing structure, garden, and parking lot in use by Forsyth School. The lot address 6307 Whiteown Boulevard is currently platted, is not viable for improvements due to the requirements set forth by the R1 district. And so a list of review criteria has been included in the staff report for the board's consideration. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed lot consolidation is consistent with lots located in the immediate area with regards to size, frontage, and arrangement. And staff recommends that this board recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen on the condition that the applicant files a plat with St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds Office and submit proof of the filing within 30 days of Board of Aldermen approval.
Okay, would the applicant like to come up? If you could give us your name and address and any comments.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Joseph Howley. My address is 853 Wilner Drive in University City, next door. And I'm here in place of Paul Boyer, who's actual applicant on record, but we're the same company. We're both civil engineers. So basically what we're doing is pretty simple. We have two lots that are owned currently by the school. And we would like to consolidate those lots into one lot. That would allow us more flexibility on the site for future improvements, et cetera. But it basically no additional land is being acquired by the school. It's all land that is currently owned by the school. Two lots of it request for consolidation of those. We have a draft plat. I don't know if that's something that's been submitted.
Yeah.
Okay, you have that. You see that over there. So pretty simple, kind of a land consolidation project.
Okay. It looked pretty good to me. I do remember when you have purchased various of these three lots.
Right.
And I think we
consolidated,
consolidated
the ones
two
that
of
were
them.
along the residential, which is on the, I'm getting confused, west side of the property, was two lots at one time.
Right.
And we consolidated that into one. This is going to add to that and make it kind of an L-shaped area. Yes,
So it's really lot 5 that's being added,
correct.
the one furthest east.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments?
Out of curiosity, it seems, I read it that it's going to be part of City of St. Louis, the entire property.
Well, no, this property will straddle the municipal boundary as it does now. There's still going to be a little piece that's in Clayton. In fact, it's the
30
lesser
feet.
part, 30 feet of it, which is currently in Clayton. And the rest of it will remain in the city of St. Louis. So the same amount of area is going to stay in each municipality. It's not going to be changed with that.
Okay, I read it wrong.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Do you have plans to do any big changes to the property or?
Nothing big, but there is a plan to replace a shed that's there right now. And that was kind of when we noticed that it was on the lot line. So, really, the original one was there, but it's something you'd rather not have as certainly a structure on a lot line.
This question isn't necessarily for you, sir, but in the future, if for some reason Forsyth would choose to leave these properties, would this lot consolidation be unique to their use? And would it revert back to single lot in the event that, or is it?
No, the lot, it would remain as a consolidated lot. So the same, we have a few of these around borders. There's some on Kingsbury that kind of cross lots that cross property between University City and the city of Clayton. So basically our enforcement powers would still be the same under that same strip that's within the city of Clayton moving forward, no matter who the owner is. So this doesn't change the zoning. It doesn't change any of the property that's within our boundary that we would enforce uses or setbacks or other things on.
Any other comments? Carolyn, any comment?
Nope. Pretty
I don't see
straightforward.
any- I don't see any hands up, correct?
I would just add that we did talk to the neighbors, Mr. William Piper, who's has a property adjoining this. He'd gotten a notice that we were doing this, so he called. And Paul talked to him and explained that there's really nothing is changing in the relationship between the properties. There's an existing agreement that limits what the school can do. Actually, that was set up with the it's a deed on the property between Forsyth and the adjacent properties to the west there, so.
Any other comments from the audience? No? Well, we do have a recommendation to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen. Are you aware of staff recommendation, the condition rather?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve to the Board of Aldermen with the staff recommended number one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to the next three items, which are 75, 25, 31, and 33 Forsyth. We'll talk about them together, but we will vote separately on each one. So we'll start. Brian?
Yeah, so the staff report that I'll summarize is applicable to items 2 through 4 on this agenda, which are requests for residential conditional use permits at properties 7525, 7531, and 7533 Forsyth Boulevard. The properties are located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Forsyth and Lee. The properties are zoned C2 and located in the Forsyth transit-oriented development area. The buildings, all constructed in a similar manner, serve a combination of office and commercial uses. The upper two floors of the 3-story buildings previously housed apartments, but they were legal non-conforming uses. These spaces were then leased as office spaces, resulting in the loss of the legal residential use. However, they retain their residential components like kitchens and bathrooms. The property owner would like to convert the upper floors of these buildings back to original residential use. Review criteria have been provided in the staff report related to that conditional use. Staff does not anticipate adverse impacts pertaining to noise, smell, traffic, or lighting. The existing parking is below as required per unit, but staff is of the opinion that the parking will be sufficient due to an abundance of nearby garages and street parking and the requirement for on-site bike storage as well as the nearby metro stop. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed residential use meets requirements contained in the regulations governing conditional uses. The proposed use is compatible with surrounding uses, and there are no changes to exteriors or structures. The proposed parking in combination with street parking provides sufficient parking to meet demand. Staff does not believe that this use will be disruptive to surrounding properties and is of the opinion that the proposed project meets the criteria for a conditional permit. So staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit, or staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit to recommend to the Board of Aldermen with the following condition: that the applicant shall provide 1 bicycle rack per property or designate bicycle parking area and submit the location of staff review prior to approval of a residential occupancy permit.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Everything's fine. 7525, just so we're all clear, is connected with 7527. So, and it's considered one property now.
Yeah, it's the
I just-
same
okay.
property on there.
And then 7531 is just a house. It's always been a house. It's already a residential area. I don't know why I put it down, but you should have it as residential. Is that what the city of Clayton has it as?
So it's still going to be zoned as that C2 general commercial, but whenever we
Okay.
we were
That's
originally
fine.
going through that application, just wanted to have
Yeah,
that on
that's
there
fine.
for you.
But the same person's living in it. When we bought the place, he was living in it and we didn't kick him out, so he's living there, so.
Ms. Salibi, isn't there a 29 also?
Yeah, 29 was already here for, but Ryan was kind enough to let me do all the other ones all at one time, so I don't come up here every couple months when we convert them back.
Okay. That
Yeah,
helps.
so we already got approval for 29. Now we're just doing, in fact, 75-25 and 75-27 have always been apartments at the top. They've never changed. And we have family living in part of them. And so we're just changing the middle ones and on 25 and 27. The bottom's gonna be still commercial. And then 75-29, we already came for the two top ones. And now 75-33, we're only gonna do the top one right now, but in the future, in case we need another one, we will, but we already have a commercial one in the middle.
So then if we, the Plan Commission and the Board of Aldermen approve the conditional use permit, you will be able to have residential on all the upper floors of all.
Yeah, but we're
Five
not gonna
buildings.
do, there's two upper floors. And we're only gonna do, well, and two of them have always been, it's kind of hard. It's three levels, okay? The bottom level is usually commercial, and it's gonna probably remain commercial. Then the upper two levels have gone back, on some of the buildings have went to commercial, but now they're gonna go back residential, and some have always been residential. So, and then this is the first time we've ever had to do this in years, because we didn't even know about these conditional permit uses. And probably because COVID changed the whole scenario of Clayton with people not wanting to do retail and offices, and you've got square footage all over the available for retail and offices. So that's when we decided to make ours residential. And then we found out that we had to come up here to do that. So that's in essence what we're doing.
Then in approving the conditional use permit, does it say that it's only for the second and third floor, or does it matter?
So the way that these are established, the mixed use developments are allowed with a conditional use permit. That's the way that you get residential within the zoning district and this overlay. So that's what we're establishing, is that all these properties can be mixed use. The property that currently has a resident that's always had the resident, that one's still covered under the existing the legal non-conforming status that Ryan mentioned that used to cover the other properties. But because those other units were then converted to commercial, they lost that protection as the legal non-conforming. So basically what we're going to do is establish a conditional use permit for each of these buildings and properties that creates the mixed use component. So that first floor of the retail that was just referenced, that will remain commercial. That's part of the condition that allows this mixed use development. But what the conditional use permit will give is some flexibility as it relates to those upper floors. So you don't have to convert all of the units to residential at this time, but what we've outlined in the review of the conditional use permit is understanding what the impacts might be should all of those convert to residential.
And if I understand what you're saying, the first floors are going to remain commercial?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And we're going to change a non-conforming use to a conditional use to allow the,
Right.
Residential.
So previously, when those were residential, when the code was updated to, so these properties were zoned commercial, or at whatever point they became non-conforming residential units, they were allowed to remain just like the resident who has remained in that one unit without requiring a conditional use permit. But then once they were converted to office, in order to go back to residential, we need the conditional use permit so that it conforms with all of the current regulations.
Thank you. Other comments? No? Carolyn?
No,
David? I see no hands up again. Any other comments from the audience? No? Well, it sounds like it was very complex, but let's take 3 votes and make it very simple. Do we have a motion for 75-25? And I guess that's 27 also.
They're together, yes. I'm just trying to conform it to what the we already file as our taxes.
Okay. Do we have a motion on 75, 25, and 27 to recommend?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the conditional use permits to the Board of Aldermen with the staff recommendation condition for 75, 25, and 75, 27.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, let's move on to 7531.
I'll make a motion to approve 7531 Forsyth Boulevard with the staff recommendation as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay. Let's move on to 7533.
I'll make a motion to approve, excuse me, 7533 Forsyth Boulevard to recommend the approval of the conditional use permits to the Board of Aldermen with the staff recommendation listed.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll move on to item 5, which is 421 Edgewood Drive. We'll start with Ryan.
So the subject property is located on the west side of Edgewood Drive, between Oakley Drive and Shirley Drive. The property is zoned R2 single family. It is developed with a 2-story single family home. The project consists of exterior improvements that include painting the home, new windows, new front door, and new gutters. The existing structure is constructed from red brick with white accent siding. The existing windows are white with no shutters. The applicant is proposing to paint the residence in off-white gray and dark gray colors. The paint is described as being flat Italian mineral paint designed for masonry. The main house will be painted the white color, while the garage and back porch will be painted the darker gray color. The front door will be painted a darker yellow, kind of goldish color, and the windows are proposed to be aluminum clad wood. The proposal is unique to the surrounding area, and that is a more contemporary paint scheme, while surrounding properties tend to incorporate more traditional styles. However, these colors that have been chosen are common on other dual tone homes in the area, and the applicant has provided letters of support from the adjacent property owners. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed exterior alterations are compatible with the surrounding area and recommend approving as submitted.
Okay, thank you. The applicant.
Hi, I'm Nate Spray, and owner at 421 Edgewood. So we're excited about making some different improvements there. We've been working on the inside of the house through COVID, and it was sort of one of those houses that I think of all the houses in Clayton sat on the market for a very long time and had a lot of water damage and other sorts of things. So we've been kind of like focusing on getting that cleaned up. And with the exterior of the house, the approach has been to try to find something that will give the house a little bit more unique character, but still be complementary with everything else that's around. The kind of dual tone paint scheme is really to try to kind of isolate the house portion compared to the garage portion a little bit, and give that a little bit more focus. They have kind of different roof lines and things like that, which is not uncommon, but we just thought that would be an interesting approach. So that's kind of the overview, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is ARB review. It's not Plan Commission. I do like the colors. When I went by the house, I tried picturing the garage in the darker color. That the entire garage, the east, north, and west would be the dark gray. Is that correct?
Yes.
As well as the porch in the back.
Yes.
I like that. I think it'll make the garage recede
Yeah.
from the front of the house itself. And I think it'll look good. What about the windows? Are you replacing only the windows on the front of the house or all the way around?
All the way around. Yeah.
And they are aluminum clad. What color?
So they're Marvin aluminum clad. They'll be the house will be white to match the paint color. We're hoping to start with like Marvin's stock colors that they have and see how those work with the paint color. If they don't blend as well as we'd like, we'll probably paint them a matching color. But the idea is for it to be the house to be white with kind of white windows, and then the garage to be that darker gray with darker windows on it.
Okay. Sounds fine. Let's go around. Bridget, any comment?
No, I'm sure it will look great. I walk and bike by your street all the time, right down that street. So I look forward to seeing how the improvements go. Good luck.
Bob?
Yes, the two tones is kind of a bold stroke. I gotta think about it. But it's your home and what I'm, my question really is, on the outside, it looks like very much a plain Jane house. And in part because there's no treatment around the door at all. If you look close, there used to be, and it had been removed. Do you have any, are you gonna do anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, the hope is to basically rebuild, not in the exact same style, but it's kind of shown in that illustration, but just a really simple surround that'll have a little bit of dimension to it. It's not detailed in there, but kind of embracing the simplicity of the house and kind of I mean, I don't know, my wife and I are both big fans of like Shaker style architecture and things like that. And so we had been to this Shaker Village and forgot where that's at in Kentucky. And like everything on the property is just kind of tone on tone, and it's just really pretty. And so kind of just keeping it simple and letting the form be very simple. And that was kind of the idea with the door surround, instead of trying to rebuild a more robust colonial style surround.
Okay, well, good luck to you.
Helen?
No, I like what you're doing. I think it is bold. And I really like that you're returning the trim around the front door, because you can see where there had been something. And paint will cover that, but I still think you're going in the right direction. The only thing I would note is ask your Florida architect to put their Missouri license number.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can do
that's-
that.
Other than that, those, I like the thinking about the mullions and muntins, that it'll give a taller appearance, although the window will be the same size.
Yes,
So it's well thought out. Good luck with it.
thank you.
Amy?
I think it's a definite bold statement. I was interested when my question was the design intent behind it. So I'm glad that you kind of explained that. It makes it a little bit, I understand it a little bit more, because at first I didn't quite get what you were going for. I'm concerned it is going to be really dark. I know you keep saying gray, and like your rendering shows like a really kind of soft gray, but then the actual paint sample. So it'll be interesting to see, I think. I love the door color. I think that'll be a really nice accent. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it turns out. Yeah.
Thanks.
It's gonna be yellow.
Carolyn?
Yellow door.
Yeah. Is the paint going to be solid, or is it going to look a little distressed? Like, will you still see a little bit of the brick, the former brick through it?
The intention is for it to be solid, but
Okay.
to be completely flat. It's a like Italian mineral paint. We researched a lot of different paint
Uh-huh.
styles, and we didn't want it to have like that kind of painted coating to it. So I think I will hope it feels like masonry, but very, very flat and not distressed.
Okay. That was the only question I had.
David?
Looks good.
I don't have any questions.
Well, before we vote, I really like the rendering that the architect did, and I agree with Helen. The Missouri license should be on the drawings.
Okay. We'll get that done.
And compliment him on the drawing.
I will do that. Thank you.
Can I just ask you one thing?
Mhm.
How did you arrive at a yellow door? I mean, I've seen red doors
Mhm.
kind of stand out. I don't know if I've ever seen a yellow one.
Well, this architect is a friend of mine who's from St. Louis and kind of has studied classical architecture and lives in Florida and works at a firm, is a partner at a firm now, and they do this kind of classical architecture. And she's been basically a collaborator of my wife and I as we've renovated a bunch of different houses over the years. And she comes to St. Louis and we bat ideas around and talk about stuff. And so she's been here about 3 times and like looked at the house. We had coffee and we sat around and talked about different things. And she drew a lot of different ideas. We talked through things. And that particular color door, we had curtains on the inside that kind of had that marigold color, and the interior like porch ceiling inside is painted dark, and she just felt like those colors were working really well together. So thought it would be, I don't know, kind of interesting, a little bit different, but you know, the house is kind of a plain Jane to a degree. And I think, you know, we want to honor that, but find a way to give it a little oomph to it at the same time. But if we don't like it, we also are gonna like not leave it like those colors too. So we want to live in the house for a long time. So
Any comments online? Like, no? Any comment in the audience here? No. Well, we do have a staff recommendation to approve as submitted. Do we have
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve as submitted, with the caveat that the architect will put their Missouri license on the drawings.
Or a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll be watching
great.
for its
Look
completion.
forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is 8154 Kingsbury. Okay, the applicant is here. So Ryan, we can start.
So the subject property is located on the south side of Kingsbury, adjacent to the street's intersection with North Forsyth. The property is zoned R2 and is located in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District. The property is developed with a 2-story single-family home and attached garage. The project consists of a new addition located at the rear of the home and includes a basement, kitchen, family room, primary bedroom, and new deck. The new addition will match the home's existing materials, will not result in any height increases, and complies with setback and coverage requirements. Rear additions are common in the surrounding area and vary in height and materials. Staff is of the opinion that the proposal is compatible with the surrounding area, existing property, R2 requirements, and Clayton Gardens Urban Design District requirements. Staff recommends approval with the condition that that a property survey shall be provided to verify setbacks and impervious coverage as part of a submission for building permits.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
I'm Keaton Jones, Keaton's Construction. And I guess this is the second time to come in. I'm a different contractor, different architect. So we're just trying to do a room addition that kind of blends in with the house instead of maybe a more commercial like the original was. So we just felt like that this would blend in with the house a little bit better and have a hip roof instead of a flat roof, you know, like you indicated for us. So we just want to do what the owners want.
Okay. I thought it looked very straightforward and fits in with the neighborhood. It really does not jut very far south. When I went over, I thought it would be visible from North Forsyth, but really it does not
You'll be able to see
come
it.
far enough to really be seen. I had no problem with it. I assume the brick color will match,
Right.
the windows
The
will
windows will be
match.
white, just like the existing, and we'll be painting the brick to match the existing brick that's painted.
Okay. I had no further questions on that. Bridget, comment?
I do not have any further comments. Thank you.
Bob?
Nothing.
Helen?
No comment.
Amy?
No comment.
Carolyn?
No comment.
David?
Nothing.
There's no one in the audience. And there is a hand up. Elizabeth?
Oh, I'm just listening in. I have no comments. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, we see your seal on the drawings also.
I'm here to answer any questions in case you need.
It's straightforward. I think everything is self-explanatory, but thank you for attending. Okay, we do have a recommendation with one condition. And are you familiar with that, and do you agree with that? It's a property survey shall be provided to verify the setbacks and impervious coverage as part of the submission for a building permit.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. When will you start?
We've got to submit for the permits, so as soon as we do that.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we have come to item 7 under new business, and that would be 140 North Brentwood. And I believe Mr. Coburn is online. And we'll start with the staff report.
So the subject property is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of North Brentwood Boulevard and Westmoreland. The property is zoned R4 and is currently undeveloped. The subject property owner also owns the property to the south, 136 North Brentwood Boulevard. And the subject property is currently being used by that property owner as additional yard space for the 136 North Brentwood. The property owner is seeking to install a fence that falls within street frontage. The fence is proposed to be black aluminum and would measure 4.5 feet in height. The fence as proposed would align with the front of the home on Brentwood and then falls within the setback frontage of Westmoreland. Dual frontage is common along Brentwood, and a variety of fencing and screening can be found to handle that situation. The immediate area also includes a variety of uses such as single family, multifamily, commercial, and office space. Other fences within dual frontage are commonly comprised of stone and brick materials. Open spaces and deep setbacks are not common in this area. The proposed fencing is not adjacent to any curb cuts that would obscure any sight lines. The proposed style and location of the fence allows for a landscape buffer along the sidewalk and is compatible with materials featured on the site and in the surrounding area. The fence as proposed is unlikely to have any adverse visual impact on nearby properties, pedestrians, or vehicles. It is the staff's opinion that the use of a fence is appropriate due to the commonality and variety of fencing and screening, the commonality of dual frontage, and the use of recommended materials and the minimal visual impact. And staff recommends approving as submitted.
Okay, thank you. I see we have a few people. Mr. Coburn, your hand is up. Would you like to give any further comments? And I see the owner is also online, if she would like to.
No, hi guys. Everything's good. Sounds like you're gonna approve it, which would be great. We greatly appreciate it.
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet, but
Okay, I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
I do have a question about the height.
Yes.
In the section 405.1900, it says the fence could be up to 4 feet above the grade level. But I believe what you're proposing is a 54-inch high fence.
Yes. Yeah, the reason Ellen Milne prefers the 54-inch tall is she possibly might install a pool in the future, and she definitely wants the fence to meet pool code compliance. So with that said, whenever you have that style of fence with 2 rails at the top, one rail, approximately 6 inches below the top rail, the fence needs to be 54 inches in height to meet pool code.
Yes, we have the right to make that change.
Right. Historically, this board has approved taller than 4 feet within front yards when it conforms to the criteria otherwise within the neighborhood. So as Brian mentioned, in this immediate area, there are examples of fences within those secondary front yards that are taller than 4 feet. So the style, the setback from the sidewalk, et cetera, staff still recommends approval in this scenario.
Thank you. That was the only question I had. Bridget?
I would say, just especially given the location of where this area is, I don't have any problems with it.
Bob?
No problems with it.
Ellen?
No problems.
Amy?
I have no issues.
Carolyn?
No comments as well.
And David?
No questions or comments.
Well, here again, it's pretty straightforward, and we do have a recommendation to approve as submitted.
I'll make a recommendation to approve as submitted.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there we go. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now we've come to the backside of the agenda. Comprehensive plan discussion. And, Anna or Ryan, who's taking that right now?
Okay, so we're just following up on the previous discussion session. We kind of outlined some components of comprehensive planning. After some discussions as staff, we wanted to go through a little bit more of a thought to approaching the steering committee for the comprehensive plan and walk you through what we're looking at and get some feedback. So I'm gonna kind of go through what we see the steering committee's role and how we see that structure playing out, and then that relationship with you all as the plan commission. So really the role of the steering committee can kind of be broken down into 2 main components. One being that they are representing the community interests and stakeholders, and that's a variety of interests and stakeholders, and really being an opportunity for you to relay information back that you see fit to these various groups, to encourage participation from the community and the various groups that you might represent as a steering committee member. And then also providing some attendance to these public engagement events, really from that angle is kind of shepherding people to get them to show up, to let them know about the events, and then also to provide feedback and gain feedback. And then the other side is really as a guide for the staff and the consultant team as we work through the components of the comprehensive plan. So attending the steering committee meetings, being an active participant is an important part of the steering committee's role, and then really being a sounding board. So as engagement events happen, as the consultant team and staff kind of look over the results or what we see and take away from that, being the sounding board of, yeah, I think you got that consensus right or not. And then as components of the plan are put together in a draft format, then the steering committee is really providing feedback on those elements of the draft before it is presented ultimately to the plan commission. So what are we looking for when we think about steering committee members? So this is the same graphic that was shown when we talked about the comprehensive plan, really thinking about the different components of community and of a comprehensive plan. So a really big part is just the commitment to attending and being an active participant. That's a huge piece about the steering committee. And then also just really a passion for the direction of the community and a variety of representation. So when we think about those different elements of what the community is, we want to make sure that different elements are reflected within the steering committee members. That could be when we think about residents, we might think about owners or renters, business owners, employees of businesses, property owners of commercial property, professionals that live or work within the area that have training or expertise in these areas of a comprehensive plan, our institutions that are represented here. So those are different people or groups that we want to kind of have some say within the steering committee as we touch on these really important different topics. I'm glad you asked. That's the next slide. So then thinking about what we were looking for in the steering committee, We're proposing 9 members. That's a good number, so we can still get a breadth of representation, but it's not too many to control in terms of actually having functional meetings of steering committees and getting some consensus and feedback. So we think a good breakdown would be 3 members that represent the Plan Commission, as ultimately, this is you serve a big role when it comes to adopting the comprehensive plan and kind of shepherding that process. So 3 representatives that way, and then pulling 3 representatives from other established committees. So we have Sustainability, Community Equity Commission, and the school district, which are important stakeholders, and then 3 at-large community representatives. So the structure that we're proposing is that each existing commission or entity would select representatives. So you all as a plan commission would determine who the 3 from this board and commission would be representing sustainability. Will select who their representative is, same with school district, et cetera. And then for at-large community representatives, because this really is a commitment and we want people that are willing and excited to be part of the process, we'll use an application process. So if you're interested in being a participant and being an at-large representative on the steering committee, you can kind of submit your name, and then we'll have a selection panel that will look at who that selection is and then make sure that we're actively making the decisions to get a variety of representation as best we can, understanding this commitment. So going into the Plan Commission role, because again, you're important. So 3 of you will serve as members of this steering committee throughout this process. The other 3 members will serve on the interview panel to kind of, again, have different elements of people involved in different process. And the 3 that serve on the interview panel, so you'll select the consultants, you'll be part of that panel, which is also going to have staff representation. You'll be the 3 that will just select the at-large community representatives as well. So that way, when we get the interest from the community who's interested, those kind of applications, resumes, so to speak, will go to the 3 members from the Plan Commission that are serving for this interview panel, so to speak. The staff will not be involved in that part. So that will just be the 3 representatives of the Plan Commission to select the at-large members. Through this process, the city manager acts really as a staff representative. So that's why it kind of breaks down 3 of you in one and 3 in another. So David will be involved kind of alongside the rest of the staff members as we provide feedback and oversight throughout the process with the consultant team. And then everybody comes back together as the Plan Commission as a whole when we actually look at presenting a plan for adoption. And then just briefly how that fits in with the process. So proposals are due on February 1st, ideas that will at that same time open up the process to start receiving interest from that large community members, which will align then in the February of reviewing the interview panel, and setting up interviews, same time that those people will then be selected from that interest party, so that in March we can have the steering committee resolved, select the consultants, and start that plan in April.
Just to be clear, those members of the Plan Commission that aren't on the steering committee, you're still going to be very involved in that process. So I don't want anybody to feel like if I'm not on the steering committee, I'm not going to have a lot of input until the end of this. You'll be involved the whole way, just probably not at the same level as somebody that's actually on that steering committee.
So the application,
Yeah.
will you be sending that out, or is it up to the individual to request it?
So we're not going to target anybody to send that application to. We're going to use the same kind of template of the application that we have right now for anybody who's interested in serving on a board or a commission for the city. We'll just make some slight modifications to that. It'll be advertised online. We'll send it out through some of the same portals you're going to start seeing, like on the city views, on our Clayton Connection updates, other aspects of what marketing already does to get out into the community. We'll have little blurbs about how you can participate in the comprehensive plan. And part of that will be encouraging people to submit to be part of the steering committee. But I would also say that you all, just like David said, as shepherds of this overall plan, can also kind of reach out to people and encourage them to look at that process. But really the goal is to try and get a good representative panel for our steering committee. So hopefully we'll be able to do that through this process and starting now.
Okay. What about the sustainability, community equity commissions and the school district? Anything with them? How will it be advertised to them?
Right, so we'll contact those entities because they'll select their own representative. So we'll invite them to go through that process of determining who the representative is and then providing that to us for the process.
And then the 3 at-large community representatives, they could be residents, business people, governmental people, not Clayton, but county.
Right, so we're not restricting the at-large community representatives to be any particular group. Like, we really want that range. So it could be that they're a resident, could be that they're a business owner that lives here. We're going to see that range. The big part of it is that it's somebody who's really invested in the future of the city of Clayton. So that's something that will need to be made clear when they submit their interest to be serving on that steering committee.
Well, having only 3 at-large community reps, will that give us a broad enough picture?
Well, hopefully, yes, because also between that and then the representatives from the other established committees who, as part of being a member of a sustainability or community equity or plan commission, you're resident. So we're getting some of that, and we're going to also rely on you all to continue to put the word out to get engagement back as a large one. But when you talk about steering committees, if you go over 9 members, it can be difficult to have meaningful guided conversations and feedback. So we really we felt that 9 was a good balance on a large enough number that hopefully you get a good representation of interests, but also small enough that we can have it be a meaningful guiding committee.
I assume the steering committee will meet publicly.
Yes.
If so, can non-members come and speak or ask questions?
So the exact management of the meetings itself will be something that we'll work through. People can come and definitely listen. There'll be open hosted meetings. They aren't going to be behind closed doors. But as far as participation during those meetings, that will be something that we'll have to discuss, because there are going to be a lot of channels for public participation. So that the meetings and the goal of the steering committee meetings are different from the general engagement sessions. So there will definitely be opportunities for people to listen in on steering committees and then maybe provide feedback to what they've heard in another channel. But I don't know that we'll host it as just an open meeting for public comment, because that's really going to be geared as the target of other engagement sessions that will be had.
Okay.
We're targeting to have that set on the website and other platforms by February 1st, which is the deadline for proposals to be submitted by the consultant teams. So they'll be by February 1st, it'll be available, and we'll have the whole month of February for people to submit.
And those are just for the 3 spots.
Correct.
Okay.
So on the first slide, Anna, I think it had, the members of the plan commission who are on the steering committee, kind of some identifiable kind of things that you would like us to do. And I appreciate the idea of, getting the word out. So, but what do you mean by that? Like, I mean, I talk to a lot of people, but I mean, is there expectation that we would get an email list together, just so there's some just so we're clear on getting the word out or communicating back? I mean, so how do you envision that?
I think it's great. It's going to be different for every individual and what organizations represent. There's going to be plenty of marketing, so to speak, coming out of the consultant and staff side. So on the city platform. So it might be as simple as just seeing your neighbor and reminding them this process is happening and to check the website, or if an event's happening on Saturday, telling people to go to it when you see it. So those types of things are going to be really important, especially if there are people that come to you and say, I don't feel like my voice is heard at the city. I mean, this is a great time to say, well, now here's an opportunity for you to come forward and participate in a process. So it really, we're not relying on like the number of emails that you have to send or you have to tweet it out. It's going to be a little bit different, but we do want to make sure that you're taking those opportunities to piggyback on the efforts of marketing that are coming out of City Hall to double up on who it's being reached.
Other questions or comments?
And then are we gonna, in terms of who selected to do what from the plan commission, is that a decision that we're making as a group, or is that a decision that you're making, or how?
You all will make that decision as the plan commission. So thinking through how you want to participate, what commitment level you want to have. Again, as plan commission members, you're an important part of the whole process. But if you're on the steering committee, there's going to be regular meetings throughout this process that you'll attend in addition to your plan commission duties. Whereas if you're on the interview panel, it's, you know, a bigger commitment right up front, and then you're participating as plan commission members kind of throughout engagement strategies, but not through those regular steering committee commitments. And then at the end, when the plan's being put together as a draft proposed to you, then again, you'll be really involved.
And then I just have one more question then. Do you envision that the people will be chosen from the different committees before we pick the at-large representatives?
We hadn't discussed the timing of that.
Because so we get a diverse group of, you know, I don't like if all the people that come out of the different committees are older women, or do you know what I mean? And then, so
Yeah.
understanding that we want a diverse cross-section of the community, it just might be helpful so that we know before we start picking the community representatives, who the people are from
I
the.
think we could probably put this on a sustainability agenda later this month. So they meet the last week of the month, and then the Equity Commission would be the second week in February. So we would have that information for you before.
And then would we
You gotta
probably
read them.
contact the president of the school
Right.
board and just say, you guys got to figure out who you're gonna.
Right.
Whether it's somebody from the school board or somebody from staff, we'll let
Right.
them determine who that.
Okay.
that would be.
Is the school board already aware that this is coming up?
I know we've made mention of it multiple times. Last time I got together with the superintendent was probably a month and a half ago, but I did let her know that this process was coming, that they would have a role. I don't know that I made it clear that it would be to this extent because we hadn't had those conversations yet. But I will notify her and let her know and get them to start thinking about it a little bit.
I have a breakfast at the end of January with them, so
There we go.
bring it up again.
Yep. I think I'll be at that one as well. So
Yeah.
we'll be sure to drive the point home.
Okay.
Is everybody
I follow.
comfortable with that 9-member format? With that particular setup?
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
only
we were
one.
batting around a lot of different combinations, so we're just trying to get a good sampling here and
Yeah, my only concern, and I already voiced it, was the number of at-large community representatives. We have 15,000 representatives here. 3 out of that, even if you take all of us out of it, really low percentage that we would be including.
well, and again, that's just inclusion on the steering committee. As
Yeah.
far as the public outreach, there's going to be a ton of opportunities, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see maybe a subcommittee or 2 pop up to look at certain topics, and that would be populated by
Additional people.
additional residents.
Yeah.
So this is just making sure that you have some residents that have an equal voice to people that are representing city boards and commissions and other groups. And that was kind of the 3, 3, and 3 that we've come up with.
Would you want to target like a 10th person who would be identified as like a business owner? Like, I don't know, like making sure that we have like a voice who is not necessarily a resident, but somebody who's I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I share Steve's concern. I'm a little.
Yeah, I
I
think
get the cross section because you mentioned in terms of getting the broad representation, having somebody who is like or have it be like somebody who works for county government. I don't know, making sure we get somebody who's not
Right.
but I don't know.
Yeah, we won't limit the interest forms for steering committee representatives to be only residents. But we
They're the
might,
ones
we
that are
might
gonna
have
see
to,
it.
right, we might have to do a direct outreach for that if we aren't seeing a response rate. But right now, this early in process, hopefully we won't have to do that because sometimes when you target specific people, then you're already not creating an inclusive process, right? Because you're already deciding who those people are. So we're gonna try the general approach and see what comes of it. But I would agree if we get only 3 at-large representative applications, so to speak, and they represent the exact same group, then we might have to think about that strategy. Hopefully we'll have time to do that though with the timeline that we have laid out.
But I know, doesn't Gary Carter?
We can
meet
send
with,
it out
like, a
through the,
group
we
of,
can
like-
send it out
right,
through the
like,
economic
just
development
because
list.
they're not gonna, like the
Yeah.
economic development, and see if you get anybody from there that's like a reasonable person. or reasonable- You know what I mean? I mean, there's probably certain people in town that you're not sure you'd want in a steering committee, but I mean, yeah, that would be like Gary Carter
Got a
meets
great
with a
business
select,
analyst.
right, yeah.
Yep.
Or through Alan Gale or something.
Yeah,
who's on
we'll
steering-
send it out. We'll
Okay.
cast a wide net.
Chamber is also aware that this is coming, so they're going to help us
Great.
advertise.
Any other comments? Were there anyone left online? Listening in?
Just me.
Can you hit escape? We'll just stop there.
I guess we're ready to go to the next step. Will your presentation be on the website?
Yes, so we've updated, there's a comprehensive planning page on our website that currently has the existing downtown master plan and some of our old comprehensive plans. I added the previous presentation to that same page on the website, so we'll add this one. And that's also, we'll also add some more information when we kind of put the live interest form for steering committee members.
Well, it seems to be moving on step by step, which is nice. Not getting ahead of ourselves yet. See how it goes. Thank you for the simple, direct information you're giving us. Anything else? Well, then we'll move beyond the discussion session. Kami, any further comment?
Nothing further.
Helen,
Nothing further.
Bob, Bridget, Carolyn,
Nothing further. Happy New Year.
same to you. David?
I would just mention that the information we were just talking about, the comprehensive plan presentations, those will be before the Board of Aldermen on January 10th. So the board will get a rundown of what the process looks like.
Good. Ryan?
Nothing else?
Anna?
No, just a few reminders on Thursday. If you hadn't seen it already, there's the community conference for the PUD that's proposed at the corner of Pershing and Merrimack that came before you for conceptual review a couple of months ago. So their community conference is on Thursday. We do have another conceptual review for another plan unit development that is happening at the next plan commission meeting. So that's kind of an interesting one. You might have seen the news was quick to cover that. A hotel conversion in Des Moines. So that would be the first boutique hotel down there for us. So that is a conceptual review level plan. And then we also we have a few of the text amendments that we've discussed. Public hearings for those are upcoming at the next meeting as well.
Good, so it's picking up again.
Yes, and the Sterling Towers, they refer to it now at 50 South Beamiston. That is in staff review currently for that PUD. So we expect that one will come through the zoning process next month, probably for public hearings to start.
Thanks for the update. And I think we're finished. So we'll see you on the 17th. Okay, that's the date. Okay, thanks, everyone. We'll see you then. Meeting adjourned.